Welcome to this week's episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in as little as 15 minutes to build your dream business. And now here's your host, the visibility whiz, Cindy J.
Hi, I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Whiz, and welcome to this episode of the Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in 15 minutes or less to build your business. I'm really excited about today because I have a special episode for you. It's the best of. I have completed 60 interviews of the Biz Success in 15 with some of the hottest names in the market, and I've met so many wonderful people. It was hard to narrow it down, but I chose 7 powerful women for this episode, just sharing some little tidbits of their wisdom with you, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy it. So first off, we'll be speaking with Joey Garrity of 113 Branding. And Joey builds upon her expertise of being in the Hollywood industry for over 20 years about how people can collaborate.
So visibility, I would absolutely say it was my first major challenge.
Yes, and you've definitely overcame that, so that's great.
Yes.
What do you think helped you overcome it?
Cindy, I really jumped back into, I meditate daily. And so meditation and yoga has become a big part of my daily practices. So really self-confidence. I mean, if you think about it, the not wanting to be visible out in the marketplace really typically comes down not to people saying they don't know necessarily how, even though that can be a major question for some people, but it's typically about self-confidence, right? People are going to see you. They're going to, and with that comes a fear of criticism. And with that comes the fear of, negative feedback. And it goes on and on and on, especially for women, right? And so, but those two practices were game changers for me.
Right. Very, very good. Thank you. Meditation and yoga. I love both of those practices as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned about some people not knowing how to get visible. Yeah. And I think there's so much noise out there. Everybody knows, per se, a lot of things to get visible. Whenever I've drilled down with my clients, it comes down to a fear of making a mistake. They don't want to waste their time on the wrong strategy. So it still boils down to those fears in that confidence. It's like, oh my God, what if I make a mistake?
So we might as well just put it out there that everyone's going to make mistakes.
Oh, true.
I mean, I always tell my clients, I'm like, so let's just get that out of the way.
Yes.
Like there's going to be mistake after mistake after mistake. You just have to keep tweaking and recalibrating a little bit. But at the end of the day, I mean, my the flag I'm flying out there is that your visibility and influence is directly linked to your earning power.
Right. So, next up, we have Mary Allen, also known as Life Coach Mary, and also known as America's Inner Peace Coach. Mary was one of my first coaches, and she was definitely instrumental to my success. I love Mary dearly, and she has some magnificent strategies that she's sharing with you.
Yeah, well, such a good question. I for sure would start with mindset. Mindset first and foremost. Like you've got to have that mindset of success is your only option, right? Or that you can handle anything. You'll figure it out. There's always a way. It's like so truly. I remember, writing a book. It wasn't like if you were going to finish it. It was okay. Like I'm doing this. All in. It's on every single juncture. It's being all in and having that mindset to win. Second is support. So even though I know this, and you support solopreneurs. I'm a solopreneur. You're a solopreneur. But the reality is the most successful solopreneurs aren't 100% solo. They have help. They actually have help. Virtual assistants.
We need help.
Help. We coaches, mastermind teams. So for 15 years, and I know you know two of my longtime mastermind buddies, Gina and Eva Gregory, 15 years, meeting weekly, and a huge part of all the success in my business, having virtual assistants. And, I've had as many, as 3, 4 at one time during the peak, and coaches, during the biggest peaks of my business, sometimes 3 coaches, for different specialties, and, for branding and for marketing, and even just for, just overall well-being. So, not feeling like you've got to do it all. So support, that's a big one. I think that the third success habit really relates to vision, and really being clear about where you're going, and not just clear on just like a mental goal of like, okay, I want to make, $100,000 or $250,000, whatever it is. It's being able to get mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually aligned with that vision. And I know, because you've been in some of my programs in the past, I talk about doing the year-long vision, where you pretend as though it's 1 year from today. Write about your last year as though it's already happened. And I found that to be an amazingly powerful tool to just get yourself emotionally aligned, but also just like to decide a path, right? Because
next up, we have Gina Leaney of Masterpiece Coaching. That's Peace, P-E-A-C-E, Masterpiece Coaching. And Gina is a brilliant soul. She has been my mentor for years. She is known for her signature product of 5-star clients. And she's all about having fun and working with your 5-star clients only.
Mm-hmm. So literally your inner business expert lives inside of you. It's not this other entity. However, I think it's easier for people to imagine and to listen to the advice that you get from your inner business expert if you imagine that it is the separate entity as you. And it's kind of like, your business partner or your business BFF. It's right next to you at all times. And often people are like, well, how do I tap into the energy of that? Well, first of all, there just has to be desire. Decide that you're going to do that. And then you have to practice. It doesn't always come like right away, just like tapping into your inner guidance. Sometimes you need practice. Mostly what we need practice with is actually just trusting the information we're getting, because we're getting information all the time. But most of us are like, shouldn't it be harder than that? Or wait, that's too simple.
We make everything a lot harder than it is.
Totally, all the time.
Crazy.
So the way that I learned to do it was I just was I was reading the book when it first came out about Neil Donald Walsh, what was it?
Conversations, yes.
And I thought, well, if he can talk to God, surely I can too. And then I took that practice, which was I just used to journal to myself and ask the question as if God was answering, and I would just write myself a note back, and I'm like, well, damn, that's good advice. Seems kind of common sense, but if I didn't think that it was just me in my head saying it, then what would I do? If I trusted that, I would implement it. Let's see what happens. And it's always worked out when I trusted that. So I'm like, why am I not doing that in business more? So now I have a name for it.
For people that find it difficult at first just to tune in, like laying down on the floor and tuning in like you did, do you find writing down the question and then just free writing the answer to be one of the best ways to start to tap into it?
I think that's the easiest way, because writing is our greatest point of focus. Like there's less chatter. Like I don't know, I've tried to meditate, and quite frankly, I need guided visualization because my mind goes off in a million different ways. But when you're writing, you're just writing and you can't focus on anything else but the writing. The most important part of that strategy is you really have to trust the information. And sometimes it's going to seem like so simplistic that you'll think that must not be right. Or it can mean that you're going to let go of a lot of things that you had already in place. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, but I just did all this work on this. Or I thought I was going to go down this road, but now my inner guidance is telling me to go down this road. And it seems scary, but if you can just trust that on the other side of this, it's going to seem like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did this. Like you will never regret following guidance. Like not ever. It's like never wrong. The only times that we're in pain is when we didn't listen.
Next up, we have Melanie Benson, and she's a revenue strategist, but she is so much more. I had the pleasure of working with Melanie years ago, and she was instrumental in me changing my mindset about money through her signature program, Money DNA.
And one of the early things that was a really big pivot point for me was about 18 months in. I realized that all of my colleagues were having this great success, and somehow I felt a little stuck. And when I started to, research what it was going to take to get more business, to get more clients, I realized it had very little to do with my action and a lot to do with what was going on up here. And I was carrying around a set of beliefs that were really limiting me. And so, yes, I had to learn to do a lot of things. Yes, there was a lot of things that I didn't understand about marketing. And, I had cash flow struggles, and I didn't have a plan to save my life at that time. I was really winging it on a prayer. But what was the biggest challenge was what I was telling myself every day. And I realized very quickly that I could learn how to do just about everything. But what we can't really learn, we have to recondition, is the way we think. And so I did some very deep work. And you know this story because I teach this all the time, but I did a lot of work around what were the thoughts and the beliefs and basically the blueprint of somebody who was wildly successful. And to me at that time, it was I just wanted to break six figures. I didn't even see a picture bigger than that. I just wanted to hit that milestone. It felt really significant to me. And I was so far away from it. I was stuck at around $1,000 a month, which living in LA is very hard to live on. And doing the mindset, it's kind of poverty level. But doing the mindset work did three things. One, I created inspiration where before I had massive blocks. If you had said, do you like marketing and are you excited to market your business? I've been like, no, God, I hate marketing. I feel so slimy. Now I love the idea of marketing because it means I'm going to inspire other people to make great shifts in their world. If you had asked me if I like sales, I would have said, no, God, that means, like I'm going to be like a used car person.
Pushy salesperson.
Yes. And who wants that? And doing the mindset work, I realized it had nothing to do with me pushing anything on someone else. But when you're doing sales in a very powerful and inspired way, you're inviting people to solve problems they deeply want to solve. So there was a lot of things that shifted. But the biggest one was I was no longer strapped for cash. Things that I had been unwilling to do all of a sudden felt easy. And it all stemmed from reconditioning the way my mind was about money and success. And so there's a lot more to how that works, which we don't have time to get into today. Right. But people always focus on the outside, but I always work with my clients on the inside, because when you're aligned and you're taking aligned right action, you're unstoppable and things seem to happen a lot easier.
Next up, we have Morgana Bray. She's known as the Money Goddess. I had the pleasure of meeting Morgana a couple years ago and was so honored to have her on my show this year. She's a beautiful, beautiful soul. And she uses alchemy and different strategies to help you change your relationship with money so that you can earn the money that you deserve.
So back to, if you are pursuing and you aren't getting what you want and need, you're protecting yourself from it. I got curious what was going on inside of me that couldn't be with money. And I had my change very soon after that. I think a day later, I had a coaching session. This is the joke. Like, I didn't have money for rent or food or anything, but I still always made sure that I had a coach. Thank God. Like, full disclosure, at the very worst of it, I was struggling to make $100 a month. So I was like borrowing and credit cards and being a coach, helping people with their lives is like really difficult when you have that shame going on. So that's my before picture. So I got curious, what is in me? Because it doesn't make sense. People want to hire me. What is inside of me that can't be with money? And immediately after that, I think it was a day or two later, I had my call with my coach, and he asked me the question that changed my life. There were two questions. The first question kind of set the stage. He asked, what happened with money with you growing up? And I thought of things that I hadn't thought of in decades. I thought of family conflicts, family members still not talking to each other, a stolen inheritance, a stolen college trust fund. People that I really, really loved in my immediate family had betrayed me and others over money. And I think at a very young age, I just made a decision that money and love couldn't coexist, so I chose love. And I think I was 12 at the time. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know that I was making that decision or how it would play out later. But as soon as I thought of those things, I was like, whoa, that was some ugly stuff. Maybe I do have money issues. But it was the next question that changed my life. And he asked me, if your money was a person, who would your money be?
Next up, we have Odette Peak. And I just had the pleasure of meeting Odette this year, and I absolutely fell in love with Odette. She is the epitome of what you can accomplish in overcoming obstacles. She faced so many obstacles in a very short period of time that led her to growing a very, very successful business. Odette Peak is known for her signature program, Speak from the Soul. How do you even begin to help somebody realize which story is the best one for them to share? Because we all have numerous stories.
Right. That's another great question. And a lot of people use the wrong story and they don't know how to articulate the story in a talk or in a conversation. So in my Speak from the Soul program, I focus on a proprietary thing that I created, a system on how to take a look at your entire life. So let me just explain what I call your soul story is. The definition of soul story is the very center of who you are. It's your inner sense of meaning and purpose. And our whole life is made up of a gazillion life experiences that I call your soul story moments. And when you follow your soul story, when you follow those moments and become emotionally connected to them, your life starts to fill with meaning and purpose. And when you're sharing your soul story with other people, their life fills with meaning and purpose, and so on and so on. And that's the ripple effect of impact, and that's the ripple effect of what sharing your soul story does. So what I have people do is go through a system that I call going through the ages, where we map out your entire life from 0 to the age that you are now, and we map it out either like on the wall or on an Excel spreadsheet, so that then we go through year by year and taking a look at all of our life moments. Now, a lot of people, it's a lot of work, especially if you're 50, right? So you start with what you remember. And then, so what I call it, I call them the boulders. You put in the big boulder moments, which are typically, marriage, divorce, having kids, you went to university or whatever. So those are the big pieces, and you put those on first. And then you go through your life year by year, and whatever pops up, you write it down. And those are like the smaller rocks. And you keep doing this process year by year. And here's the key is a lot of people say, well, I don't want to go year by year because, there's just too many moments. Right. But the point of it is that if you don't do it in that process, you miss key stories and key elements of your life that have brought you to where you are today. And it's not just the big things necessarily, like the divorce, that is where you are. It's the belief system. It's the way that you were brought up. It's the things that happened to you when you were younger. It's those silent moments, I call them as well, that are what create what I call an emotional theme throughout your entire life, which is then a thread for your talk and for your story. And
Next up, we have Nancy Tierney of Firecracker Communications. And Nancy is a copywriter. I've had the pleasure of knowing her for a few years. She teaches you how to use words that captivate, convince, and connect with your customers. And if you think you can't write, then you've never listened to Nancy. She helps you use words to connect with people rather than just sell.
Oh, I hate writing, or I can't write, and my writing sucks. I always go like, that's because you're thinking of writing in a certain way. You're thinking of that English essay you had to do, or the book you just read. And copy is very conversational. And so I actually tell people that if you feel you can't write, just speak whatever it is you have to say into a tape recorder, have it transcribed, and then edit it down. You do have to edit it down. You do have to make writing more concise and clear and to the point, because people won't hang out with you on the page as long as they will if they're in a conversation with you. Right. But I also think, when people say that too, I say, well, do you write emails to your friends? Well, yeah, it's no different than that. It really isn't. You want your copy to actually feel like that. Like it's just an email that you're writing to a friend. So I kind of put the kibosh on that whole thing about I can't write. But so it really depends on who your audience is. You want to speak in a language that they can understand. It's pretty clear. It's like, and that doesn't come off as too formal or standoffish. So the more you can just write from in your own voice as you would to someone who is your ideal client, you're good to go. In fact, really, the more you can just focus on, and this is one of the tricks of copywriting, is if you can listen to what your ideal client is saying and reflect those words back to them, they've just written your copy for you. So much of what you want to do in your copy is really just echo back to them what's in their own head and the things that they say to themselves and the way they describe things themselves.
I know. I was just going to say, some of my best articles, and you probably agree, is whenever clients ask me a question, there's probably 1,000 other people that have the same question. So whenever I reply to this answer, I will just create an article with the answer because other people have the same question.
Yes. And that's an interesting point too. Because one client or one person may ask you a question, and you're right, you're going to assume that other people probably have the same question too. And this is also true in writing copy, in that you really want to write your copy to one person, as if it is that one person asking that one question. Because if you really tone it in to one person, and you just have that one person in mind, it is going to relate to everybody else. But it will really help you in terms of directing your message, getting really clear, being able to write in a way that connects with that person. And it really will help you know what to say and be able to write it really quickly and easily. If you're just thinking, it is like writing a letter to your best friend. It's like, just think of that one person, that one ideal client, just write to her or him.
I hope you enjoyed the best of Biz Success in 15. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you are sure to get each episode, because I have some wonderful guests lined up for the upcoming year. Next week, I'll be sharing some more best clips from some of our men guests. So be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Biz Success in 15. Big hugs. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Biz Success in 15. For all links mentioned in today's show, and to watch or listen to previous episodes, visit bizsuccessin15.com. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for another amazing guest.